Today I'm delighted to be joined by the Executive Chair of Wiluna Mining, Milan Jerkovic. How are you, Milan?
I'm going very well, thanks Danica. Good to be with you again.
It's good. Yeah, I think last time we caught up it was for the cellar chat, so bit of a shame not to have a Chardonnay today, but lots to talk about.
Well, I'm looking forward to you coming back to WA again for another Chardonnay evening.
So Wiluna recently published a new presentation, and we're keen to get to that in a little while. But firstly, tell me, why did you take on Wiluna given its difficult history?
Well, I enjoy a challenge and I enjoy building successful businesses that produce long-term value for shareholders and reward my efforts financially and reward our shareholders. Having said that, you can't do that without the right location and the right asset. Fortunately at the moment, there's a good environment for gold. We've got a very large asset that's actually in the middle of Western Australia. With methodical application of time and money, we believe we can turn it into a very successful, large, long-term business. And that's what I'm doing, both in terms of putting the right people and the right plan, and then obviously the right strategy in place to generate and develop a long-term business.
How does Wiluna compare to the challenges and the opportunity that you had at Straits Resources, where you were able to really take that asset and turn it around and deliver the value back to shareholders?
In Straits, we had a number of assets across the globe, but again, we chose to renovate and build businesses at the right time, when the cycle meant that our efforts would reward us for turning those businesses around, when in fact copper markets and coal markets recovered. And we produced a very good outcome over 7 years, having started from a very low base with assets that others had discarded at that time. Wiluna on its own is larger than any of the single assets I had to work with in Straits. And that's what gives me some real confidence that this can be developed into a very large long-term business.
You recently announced some very high-grade drill results that point to Wiluna being a very large gold system. How big do you think Wiluna can be?
Well, it's quite interesting that's going to be the exciting part of Wiluna, because every new drill hole we add and information we add is still pointing to a much larger system than potentially any of us imagined. We know that the Wiluna has a 10 million ounce mine and that endowment and resource already. The drilling that we've been announcing is all in the north end of the mine that you can see on the screen there, and all up in the top 600 metres in the gaps that haven't been mined, or in areas where we previously operators just didn't think the system continued, which leads us to believe that there's a lot more ounces in the top 600 metres to be drilled. You can see those yellow dots, they're all targets that we're either drilling or going to drill in the future. So if we then look at this and compare it to the scale of Jundee or Gwalia mine in WA and look at this 5 kilometre by 5 kilometre footprint, once we fill it into 600 metres, there's a substantial amount of further ounces to add, which will make this one of the largest systems per vertical metre of endowment in Australia.
That's pretty massive.
There's absolutely no doubt that there is multiples of tens of millions of ounces to be discovered here, particularly if we start to open out and drill down to 1,200 metres, which is still reasonably shallow in terms of local geology and ore bodies that are currently being mined in Western Australia.
And I guess speaking to this slide, the model is helped by the fact that you're drilling next to existing infrastructure. You've got all of this infrastructure and sunk capital. How does that help? And maybe you could even run through some of the grades that you've been getting.
Well, exactly right. So our conversion to reserve is still very modest, less than $50 an ounce. Our resource definition is 15. Our ability to put those ounces then into production is significantly enhanced with existing 100 kilometres of development and 5 declines, which we have to refurbish, and we're close to the surface. And our development rate per tonne mined, because there's so much concentration of gold, is lower than our peers. So everything is actually working in our favour to develop a very, very good cost structure around a high-grade mine when we start, that will make us very competitive, in my view, compared to most of our peers.
You know, you've been proving over and over with these drill results that actually, you know, there's a substantial gold system there and you've got the right team in place to deliver it.
We're drilling some fantastic high grades, which means that we can actually add grade to our current sort of high grade envelope of 3.7 million ounces of 4.9 grams that we've currently got out there. We've got a pretty good feeling about what that's going to lead to in the next 12 months. And if we can increase the grade profile through the mill by a gram, it just adds another 25,000 ounces of production from the same expenditure in the mine and on the surface. So it's pretty exciting times. But we expect over the next 3 years to define a very, very large, scalable asset here, which is going to surprise most of us.
So I guess now turning towards some of that interest that external parties have been showing in Wiluna, which has been substantial. For instance, Polymetal, the $17 billion market cap Russian gold producer. Why, you know, who are they and why would we bother shipping concentrate all the way to Russia?
So Polymetal is a very interesting company that came to us last year seeking out potential feed from a tier 1 jurisdiction into their processing facilities on the east coast of Russia. They're a 1.5 million ounce plus producer listed on the London Exchange, one of the larger gold mining and producing companies in the world. They're also one of the largest processors of refractory gold ore in the world. That picture you see there on the screen is a new vessel that they're building, which will be commissioned over the next couple of years, which is in fact the reason they're seeking out long-term feed to be able to fully utilise and fill that vessel. It's one of the largest pressure vessels in the world. The reason we have aligned ourselves with them is that we believe pressure oxidation from an environmentally sustainable point of view long-term is the way to go in terms of sustainable production of gold from sulphide astropyrite ore bodies like Wiluna. The fact that we have a tier 1 company that's identified the geological endowment and the scale of Wiluna as being able to partner with them to supply long-term feed into their facilities, I think is a very exciting development. And as to how we then capitalise and expand the mine to its full potential with the ability to obviously continue to have a relationship and supply feed into their modern facilities on the east coast of Russia.
Yeah. It's really great to be ticking the ESG box in that regard. It make more sense for the Wiluna gold to be, or the gold concentrate to be processed in WA?
Well, that's an interesting question. Interestingly enough, Western Australia has one of the largest endowments of refractory ores in the world without a modern processing facility built yet. So long term, I have no doubt between Wiluna and Kalgoorlie, there will be modern converters built in Western Australia. We're going to develop the mine first. We'll partner with Polymetal. As you develop the mine and you want to exploit the lower grade or the peripheral parts of the ore body, you may very well consider building a vessel on site as well to be able to convert gold and expand the scale of the operation and increase the economics.
On that next stage, what do you see, in the next 12 months for Wiluna? What's the ultimate vision?
Well, right now we set out with a 5-point plan. I won't go through that again, but our having been able to clean all the legacy issues up, which we needed to do to be able to look forward with confidence and go hard at this opportunity. Our cash flow now is stabilised and we continue to reduce costs, produce at our 5,000 ounces plus a month. That'll give us a very nice operating cash flow to support everything else that we're doing. In the meantime, develop the mine so they can feed a concentrator by October next year, achieve that doubling of production as we ramp up from there, and then really push hard to drill the reserves and the mine planning inventory required to finish a feasibility study and push through and expand that mine to double that production. And that's the whole focus of the company. I mean, the other aspect is obviously, as you mentioned right from the start, Danica, is that exploration discovery side. I mean, we intend to try and paint the scale of Wiluna as we're developing the mine in parallel. So this is really a development exploration story that's got significant cash flow coming with it as we go.
I guess that's all we've really got time for today, and it's been great to catch up again. Look forward to catching up again soon. So thank you, Milan. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Danica. Good to talk to you again. Cheers.